So now we're into the month of April. And the theme for the month of April is Ascending Through Grace. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Ascending Through Grace. And today we are very blessed because we're going to hear some words of wisdom and inspiration and motivation that will help inspire us as we go through our personal ascension through grace. So let's take this opportunity to welcome Rev Joy-anne up to the front.
Well, before we begin today, I'd like to wish each and every one of us, one of you, all of us, there's only one of us, have you heard that? To wish all of you a happy Easter. And I just happened to bring with me my very own personal Easter basket with one very small egg. I'll take it out and show you. How many of you have ever seen, this is a real egg. How would you like to lay this egg? This is an ostrich egg, and it was a gift from a friend of mine. I think I shared this last year too. I'm trying to remember if I did or not, but anyway, I absolutely love this. And you know, we're told never to put all of our eggs in one basket. But I'm just saying, I don't know any others would fit. So there we go. So happy, wonderful Easter. And I'm going to ask, where'd she go? Susan, would you do me the favor of going and collecting all of those Easter baskets and bring them all here? Because we want to give them away. And anyone here that would like to receive, we have, I think, 7 Easter baskets. So we're going to make sure that no one goes home feeling like they wish they had an Easter basket. How many of you remember when you were little, you had Easter egg hunts and Easter baskets? I love it. All of you, any of you remember that? It's so much fun. I love it. My daughter, bless her heart, she's now going to be 30. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. Her birthday's coming up this month. She used to ask me to re-hide her eggs. So I would hide all of her eggs, and then she'd find them all. Well, most of them. And then she'd say, Mommy, you know, she's little, can you please hide them? So I'd hide the eggs again. And she would find them, and there it went all day long. I can't tell you how many Easter. I'm like, Easter's done. How many times will we find these eggs? But it was her greatest joy, and she was the happiest, and still is, the happiest little blonde, you know, curly being you could ever meet. Happy, happy, happy. So today's message, as you know, is Ascension through Grace. And what does that mean, ascending through grace? You'll find out today as we explore the 3 aspects of that, the 3 keys to all of us ascending through grace. And at the end of today's service, we're going to have several of us form a prayer chamber. Who knows what a prayer chamber is? Anyone? A few of you? Well, we have people who are trained practitioners and ministers, and I'm also going to ask our board members to stand around on the outside, and they are there and they're praying. They're praying with you and for you. They'll hold you in a place of absolute love. So it's a wonderful experience. So we're going to do that today as part of our Easter blessing. So ascending through grace is when we defy gravity. How many of you have defied gravity recently? I'm going to have you come on up. Come on up. I want you to see this. Okay, turn around so you can see. I bought this for her. This is our Easter Bunny representative, the living representative of the Easter Bunny. And she has baskets. So if you would like to receive one, will you please raise your hand? Okay, so your job as the Easter Bunny is to go and deliver them. And maybe, Pat, can you help her? Oops, she has too many. So raise your hand high, and we'll give you your very own, not to eat the chocolate during church. Unless you share it with me. Rael has his hand up. He's our 7-foot child.
7-foot child.
That's good.
I played
All right. See, wasn't that fun? Some people, I wish we had enough for everything. Maybe next year we'll have that. I was thinking of golden eggs. Wouldn't it be fun to get a golden egg? You're not climbing the beanstalk. Why not?
That was the hen that takes the golden egg.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, you can get the hen first. All right. So we're looking at defying gravity. And that is that when we ascend is when we let go of the restrictions, the fear, anything that is holding us back. So take a moment to see, is there anything in your life, anything from your past, anything that's happened to you in which it's kind of holding you back from the next greatest, grandest thing, or the next greatest, grandest version of yourself? Uh-oh. Now we have someone. All right, who's going to give her Easter basket back? Come on up. Come on up here, sweetheart. Come here. Can you come up here? Look at this little angel. Come on up here. Come up here. We now have a child, and we have an Easter basket for you. Look, it's right here. Oh, but did you like that? What's your name, sweetheart?
It's nature.
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 Isn't that a great name? Let's give her some love. I will share, because I like to share, but you have to take really good care. This is a real egg from an ostrich. Isn't that beautiful? So I will let you look at it, but we're going to send it with her, and she's going to take you. You've got your very own Easter basket. She's going to take you off to church. Let's help her down the stairs. There you go. All right, so there she goes. See, we have children. So what we're looking at this morning is really working on allowing, releasing our past. So does anyone have anything from their past that they're willing to let go of? Any pain, any like a divorce or a difficulty or a loss? All of the above. You don't want to go there. She doesn't want to go there. Okay, good. That's all right. And so what we're moving to is we're going to move from human consciousness or race consciousness to grace consciousness. And that's how we ascend. But before we go any further, I want to share with you, what is human consciousness? What does that mean? What does race consciousness mean? Because it is a word you may or may not have heard before. It's from our teaching of Science of Mind. And what it means is this. First of all, it has nothing to do with an individual's race or their color or their ethnic origin, but rather it refers to the accumulated attitudes, thoughts, feelings, beliefs, valuings, words, and actions that the human race, that the humanity has thought since the beginning of time. So as you turn on the 6 o'clock news and you watch it for a few minutes, what do you notice is going on in the world right now? Anyone want to speculate? It's all negative. So what I can describe that in just 4 words. It's either fear, lack, limitation, or separation. And the humanity seems to be going through this, but there's a very good reason that that is happening. And that is for our awakening. That right now we as humanity, there's terrorists here, there's difficulties there, there's financial challenges. It is because we as a human family are going through a collective awakening. We are waking up. What are we waking up to? That's what we're going to look at today. We're waking up to ascension, which means to rise above, beyond, and across wherever we have been before, to let go of our past. So I love the whole idea of ascension. So it can be described, our human consciousness can simply be described as fear, lack, limitation, or separation. And it's just about in every story. And even if we choose, like let's say we all go live in a cave. Or I'm going to go live in a cave so it won't affect me. I'm going to go live on a mountaintop in a cave so all of that fear, I'm going to go live in a teepee, in your case. I'm going to go live out in the wilderness. I'm going to go live somewhere where I won't see anybody. If we do that, we're kind of going like this, right? And we're not really keeping ourselves apart because we are affected by our planet. We're all connected. And so it's not about that, but it's about seeing through the appearance and choosing to move from fear into love, from lack into abundance, from the limitation to freedom, and from separation to oneness. And that's really what the Easter message is all about. And this is said so beautifully through a story. And this is from, you've all heard this before, but I'm going to give you a different perspective. And this is all according to the Holy Scriptures. And this is a story about the angel that helped roll away the stone. See if you can hear these human qualities of fear, lack, limitation, and separation as I share very briefly what happened according to this Matthew guy. And I quote, "When the first day of the week began to dawn, there came Mary of Magdalene and the other Mary to see the tomb. And behold, a great earthquake took place. For the angel came down from heaven and went up and rolled away the stone that was in front of the tomb and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning. His garments were white as snow, dazzling white like snow. And for fear of him, the guards who were watching trembled and became as if they were dead, like they had the deers in the headlight. Anyone ever have so much fear? I had a bear come in my tent, so I know what that feels like. Fear. But the great angel answered, saying to the women, Mary and Mary, you need not be afraid, for I know that you are seeking Jesus. He is not here, for he has risen just as he said." So you can hear the fear, the trembling, the separation. And there's three ideas in the last two sentences that we're going to look at today that really exemplify this whole idea of ascending above fear, above lack, above limitation, and above separation. And that is the whole message of Easter, I believe. So again, the angel answered, saying to the women, you need not be afraid. You need not be afraid. And so the first point I'd like to share with you today of the three, number one, is we're going to move from fear to love. We're going to move from fear to love. The first I'm calling that fear to love, even though the guards who were watching trembled when they saw that the angel became this snow white, this dazzling white, and had rolled away the stone. They became fearful. Anyone here ever been frozen in fear? Besides me. Happens to us on occasion, right? And so, what did they say? They said, you need not be afraid. You need not be afraid. Why are we ever afraid? Why are we ever afraid? Fear of the unknown. Anyone ever have fear of the unknown? Why are we ever afraid? The answer is always the same, no matter what we are afraid of. The answer is always the same. We believe, if we are afraid, there may be a belief in God and something else. In the divine and something else. In spirit and something else. But what we teach and what we know here is that there is only one power. And it is the power of the divine. And it is omnipresent. It is everywhere. If you really knew that, if I really knew that when this big bear came in my tent, I would say, hello. But I screamed and no sound came out. And it didn't bother me. He just wanted my M&Ms. And he took them. And I said, good. You can have them all. And I found a little trail of M&Ms going into the forest. You can have those too. All you wanted. Yay! So, fear not. We have to let go of fear. And all of you have heard of the acronym for fear, false evidence appearing real. I want to give you a new one, and it is this: forgetting everything about reality. You thought I was going to say, forget everything and run. Forget everything and run. No, forgetting everything about reality. Here's what Dr. Holmes said about reality. Reality actually means that which is indestructible, incapable of decay. Reality is unchanging and everlasting. The self we see is what we have thought about ourselves, the form we have molded by our thought. The real self, the divine self, is perfection. It is fearless. For God could not know anything unlike itself. Our sonship, our divinity, is our reality. Christ abiding in us. The kingdom of God is within. How many times did we hear that over and over? The kingdom of heaven is within us. Fear not. So right where you are seated, right inside of you is the divine. If it is everywhere present, powerfully present, it must be in you. It must be in me. It's everywhere. So fear not. We are to let go of fear. And there's probably many ways, but here's one way that I have found that is very powerful to let go of fear. Anyone want to guess what that is? This is taught in the Course in Miracles. It's taught in many of our world's religions, as we honor today. How do you let go of fear?
Pray.
You pray. Okay, that's good. Be nice to the bear.
Surrender.
You surrender. Okay, those are all excellent. There's another way, and we're going to try it this morning. What'd you say? There we go. See, I think you should stand up. That was an outstanding statement. Stand up. Excellent. That's exactly right. So I want you to try this right now. So I want you to all close your eyes, and I want you to think of someone that you love. It could be your partner or your husband, wife, your partner. It could be your child or children, maybe your four-legged friend, Jake, four-legged best one, whoever. It could be a distant, maybe a grandmother or grandchild. Think right now, just bring that person to mind right now. Someone you deeply love. And I want you to imagine that you are generating love to that person. You are literally sending love from your heart to that person. Okay, now open your eyes. Bless you. The moment that you generate love, you no longer feel fear. So that is one of the most powerful ways that we can release fear, is to generate love. Generate love. I have to tell you, this is a true story. There was a woman who this is in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and probably most of you haven't been there because it's in the States. And she was going for a walk. And it was in the country. She was visiting a friend, and she decided to go for a walk. So she's walking down this little valley, and she's walking along. And then in the distance, she sees two Doberman pinschers. You all know what those are? And they were trained guard dogs, and their teeth are showing, and they're running as fast as they can toward her. And so all of a sudden, she's looking around. There's no tree for her to climb. She became terrified. Terrified. She's looking around. What will I do? What will I do? And the only thing that came to her, because she was a student of science of mind, she said, the only thing that I can think of to do, there's not even a fence, is I'm going to stand here, I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to generate love. So she bravely took in a deep breath. She closed her eyes, of course, already closed, and all she did was let go of all the fear, drained from her body, and she began to generate love and just send she could hear him getting closer and closer, from the distance, closer and closer and closer. And then when they got to her, how they put their paws up here, and they started giving her dog kisses. And she was so shocked. She said, it like blew her mind. She had no clue that just by generating love and letting go of fear. Do you know why animals bite? They sense your fear. They sense your fear, and they think that anyone who's afraid is more dangerous. And so they bite you. So next time, it's hard to do. It's like when you see a snake, they say, don't run. It's the first thing your body wants to do. At least mine does. When it sees like, you want to run, but you're supposed to freeze. But anyway. So to generate this ascension consciousness, you generate love. You let go of fear. Number 2, what about lack and limitation? We want to move from there to abundance. And this second part, or the second point today, is filled with promises that we have been given by the presence of this master teacher, Jesus. I want to share some of them because it's so powerful. He said this. He said, I have come so that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Y'all remember that one? He said, God would provide for us even more than the lilies of the field. He said that our faith would make us whole, or said another way, that it would be done unto us as we believe. He said the kingdom of heaven was at hand, and greater miracles than this ye can do. Greater things than this ye can do. And he, because he fulfilled this mother of all promises that he would rise, we can be assured that he will also fulfill, this master teacher, all these other promises that he gave us. And abundance and freedom become ours when we rely on the transcendent promises of this great master teacher. That he told us that the Father and I are one. The Father, Mother, God, we call it. It's an infinite presence, infinite love is right here within us. And there is no separation, which brings us to number 3. The angel said, he has risen. He has risen. A former congressman, Morris Udall, loved to tell the story about what happened in the Kremlin. Some of you may remember this. In the Kremlin, when Khrushchev was passed away. Some of you may remember this. Brezhnev and other leaders wanted to get the remains of this person out of their country, and they called President Nixon. Guess what he said? He said no. He was afraid. It's talking about fear. So they called the Prime Minister of Health of England, and they got the same response. So they called the Prime Minister Golda Meir of Israel, and she said, yes, you can bury the remains of this Russian in our country. But I have to warn you, she said, Israel has a very high incident of resurrection. So what is the relevance? What is the relevance of resurrection? Aside from the profound teaching of immortality, there's one more layer that I want to share with you. One very deep layer that is very profound. This is part of our third point today. And that has to do with, it is an ascension in consciousness. I personally believe, and we've been told in many of the traditional Christian faiths, that there's going to be this second coming. And I believe that is within us, that part of us knows this already, and that we all know this. Maybe we keep that from ourselves. But it is when we awaken to our own spiritual magnificence, that we realize that the one that we've been seeking out here is really the divine essence of our own being. It's right here. That divinity, that love exists in us as us. Period. So the idea of resurrection and consciousness is the idea that we can, right here, right now, rise above any fear. We can know our oneness. We can release anything that we're going through that is challenging for us, and see through to the truth of our being, that we are not alone, we are not separate, that we walk, that this incredible presence of life is within us, walks beside us, as they say in the native tradition, that this incredible essence of being goes before us to make the crooked way smooth. And this beauty, it's a poem. The beauty walks behind me, walks in front of me, is beside me, is above me, is below me, the 7 directions of beauty. It's there. So every one of us is a perfect living expression of the divine. And I'm going to kind of bring this all into this very last story, this true story that exemplifies this whole idea of ascension consciousness. That we rise and move above, beyond, and across wherever we have been, whatever fear we might have been going through, we can bring that and shift that, bring that to the awareness of love, and it shifts. Any lack or limitation, we can look through that appearance and experience the abundance that is our true inheritance. And that through any separation, we can realize our oneness. And there is nothing to fear. To realize that at a deep level, we naturally ascend into the consciousness, is the ascension of our consciousness. So I believe the second coming is when we awaken. And I believe that all of our planet is in the process of awakening to their spiritual magnificence. It's like birth, it's kind of messy, right? Us ladies, we know about that. Maybe some of you men too? No? All right, so this story, I love this story. It's a true story. How many of you have heard of Tyler Perry? He's an actor and he's a writer. And this is his true story. And see if you can hear his fear, and then it's shifted into love. And you'll hear his lack and limitation shifted into his abundance and his separation into oneness. See if you can find these words as I bring this message to a close. So this is what he says, and I quote his story. As I was walking from my car to my studio one day, a woman who appeared to be homeless started walking towards me. I'm ashamed to say this, but I thought to myself, I don't feel like being hustled today, being hassled by this woman. And then I quickly felt guilty, he said. So I started digging in my pocket for some money. As she got closer, I noticed she had the kindest eyes I had ever seen. As I was reaching into my pocket, she started to speak. I thought, here goes the pitch, here goes the sales pitch. But instead she said, "Excuse me, sir, I need some shoes. Can you help me?" And at those words, my eyes filled with tears, he said, because I remember myself being out on the streets and having only one pair of run-over shoes. I was taken aback, but just for a second. I composed myself and I took her inside my studio and had my wardrobe people find her shoes in her size. And as she put the shoes on her feet, she started crying. And she said, "My feet are off the ground, my feet are off the ground." As she was crying, she was so happy to have a pair of shoes. "My feet are off the ground," she said. Several of the wardrobe people started crying also. I was crying as I thought, wow, all she wanted was some shoes. She quickly disappeared and never asked me for a dime. I realized that I still had the money in my hand, so I went out looking for her, and she was gone just that quick. So I looked all around the neighborhood for her, and I found her standing on a street corner, still crying, still saying, "My feet are off the ground, my feet are off the ground." I was so touched, I asked her how she had gotten homeless, and she said that she had contracted AIDS, and her whole family turned her out. They wanted nothing to do with her. So she's been waiting to get into a shelter, she said. She said that her family, after turning their backs on her, she realized she had no place to go, but she knew that God would take care of her, that would provide for her. So I said to myself, God just did. And I put her up in a motel room for several days. I asked my staff to check in on her, but soon she was gone. This past summer, years later, I was shooting Daddy's Little Girls, a TV show. And this woman out of nowhere just walks up to me. I didn't recognize her at first, but her eyes were very familiar. She had on a really nice dress, and she had her hair all done. She told me that the little help that I had given her had changed her entire life. And I share this story for one reason. After I met this woman, and every time I think about her, and I start complaining about my own life and mumbling, I remember her words, "My feet are off the ground, my feet are off the ground." And she became a blessing to me. And so that, my friends, is defying gravity and ascending into the most amazing grace. The most amazing grace possible. And so we're going to go right into we're going to anchor this into our prayer time, and then we're going to have a song, a new version. I'm calling it the Kamloops version of Amazing Grace. And I want you just to stay in that place. Just allow yourself to be in that place of feeling this amazing shift from fear to love, from lack and limitation to abundance, and from separation to oneness that Perry Tyler shared in this story. Just hear these beautiful words. I'm going to now ask our prayer chamber to be made. So all of those of you who are board members and practitioners, if you would please just stand in a circle. Stand over here. Some of you over here. The rest of you get to just sit and receive as we just anchor this into our prayer. So on this beautiful Easter morning, I just take a moment to be in gratitude for this beautiful, beautiful day. It truly is a beautiful Sunday, a day when we are reminded of the renewing of life. And so in that place of being reminded, rebirth, if you will, ascending in consciousness, I recognize that truly is only one power, one presence, one life that I call God, but it is known by many names. Some call it Jesus, some call it Buddha, some call it the infinite or source energy. Doesn't matter what you call it. One power, one presence, one life. And I know that that life is my life too. That I am not separate from the divine. I am one with the divine. For this infinite presence being everywhere present, omnipresent, is within me, in my heart. And not only that, in the DNA of my body, and every part of me is a part of the divine. And therefore I speak my word and know, on behalf of myself and everyone within the sound of my voice, that we experience collectively and individually our own ascension. We leave the past behind. We let it go. We bless it and say goodbye to that which no longer serves our highest good. We just let it go. Anywhere in our lives where there is a feeling of lack, like there's not enough love, or there's not enough money, not enoughness anywhere, I speak my word that we realize the abundance that is everywhere. We cannot even count the grains of sand on the beach, the number of trees and all the leaves that are now budding forth, the flowers, soon the bees and the butterflies. Yes, and we even bless those wasps. The abundance that is everywhere, the stars in the sky. Thank you. And from separation, thinking I'm all alone, I have to do it alone, I am alone, realizing that we are not alone, that the divine sits in quiet repose inside of our very heart and soul, that we are made out of the divine. Here at the most wonderful time to be in the history of this planet, the time of the great awakening, humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence. And truly that everyone in this room and beyond lives in grace. We go from race consciousness to grace consciousness, from fear to love, from lack to abundance, from limitation to freedom, and from separation to oneness. We live by grace. And as we do, we ascend. It is our personal ascension. To live by grace, but by the grace of God go I. And so for that and for so much more, I give thanks. Thank you, Infinite Spirit. Thank you, Life. Thank you, God. As I release this treatment into the law of mind, knowing it is done, it is given to us as we believe, and I believe and know it is done. I let go, I let God as we anchor into our consciousness together as saying these words, and so it is. And then just allow yourself to stay in that space as you hear these beautiful new words to the song, Amazing